Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. Glad to have you guys here. It's the 12th, January 2024. Thank you for tuning in. Well, Fed's going to have to turn around to quantitative easing back from quantitative tightening sooner or later. What's going to happen? Well, could be very dangerous. The problem is in the repo markets. If they turn back. Now, it says here, this has created the possibility of a worrying chain reaction from the Fed's balance sheet via the money market funds and the top private repo market through the basis of trade and onto the demand for treasuries at a time when the United States government is coming to the market with massive amounts of issuance. So, if they go back to quantitative easing, it's very possible that they're going to see disturbances, rather large disturbances in the bond market. Now, you guys have probably all heard in the news this morning about how they've struck against the Houthis. And they've launched an attack against the Houthis, and we've seen this coming because the Houthis have been cutting shipping off in around the Red Sea. Now, this is going to change my forecast. I was forecasting for the moderation of inflation. This is what we've been seeing. It's called disinflation. And also the Fed coming in with rate cuts. Can't you guys see what's happening? We've got the war in Russia. And the enemies, now what they're doing is they want to get the United States on multiple footings. And they can see that the United States financially is the weakest point. Now, the United States is an oil-based economy. And if you look to the area around the Red Sea, that's where we get a lot of our shipping for freight. If you look to the Gulf of Oman and the Persian Gulf, this is where we get a lot of our oil. We've been seeing attacks from the Houthis in around the Red Sea, which has been affecting our shipping very negatively. Now we see the strife and trouble moving suddenly to the area around the Persian Gulf, which is the oil. What happened was we seen this boarding of a ship and a seizure of a ship in around the Persian Gulf region just in the last day or so, and it wasn't very long after that before the United States attacked the Houthis. Are the two connected? That's a big question mark, but in my mind, hey, you got to take a look at that very seriously. It's a dire situation for the United States, because what it's doing is it's getting them off on multiple footings, war footings, and it's attacking their financial system, because look at all the money that poured into Ukraine. Okay, that is a huge expense against the United States government. Now, every time they fire a missile against the Houthis, it's more expense. I know the United States has the largest military expenditure of the world. But there are limitations to how much you can spend. The war gets on multiple footings. There's limitations to not only that, troop deployment. What about Russia? It reminds me of kind of like, when you got a bear, he's going through the woods. He's the most powerful critter in the woods. Okay, he's going through the woods. But say a pack of wolves come along. How do wolves take down a bear? Well, if one wolf rushes in, and he tries to take down that bear is just going to swat him and kill him. No, they come in as a pack. And they attack what's called the flanks. They don't want to get in a direct engagement with the bear because they know that that'll kill them. But by coming in at the flanks, every time the bear turns around, they run back. They run away. The bear turns back around again to go his merry way, and they come in from the flanks and try to grab his rear legs. Wound him, disable him. Monetarily, a country can be disabled monetarily if it costs too much to fight the war. If it takes too many weapons, etc., etc. What's the weak points in all this for the United States? Well, the weak points big one is the oil that comes through the Persian Gulf. I think it's like over 20% of the world's oil comes through there. We need all the oil we can get. Yes, I know the United States is an oil-producing country. But still, you have to understand something. When we first went in, out around Texas and the U.S. oil, well, you heard about all the Texas millionaires and stuff. They made that movie Jake Clampett with the Beverly Hillbillies on that premise that he found oil on his property. But this is the way it was. It just came bubbling out of the ground. Do you remember in the show Beverly Hillbillies, he was going hunting in the woods and he shot his gun and it hit the ground and a bunch of oil come bubbling out? That's the way it used to be. It was called a gusher. They would find oil, it would shoot up into the air under pressure. Well, they tapped into all that and they sucked it out of the ground until those wells went empty, and then they capped them off. But then they come along with new technology called fracking technology, where they basically use high pressure and heat and everything else down in there to pump more oil out. But it's not like it was originally when it come gushing out of the ground. Fracking costs more money. A lot more money per barrel, and that price translates per barrel price. It costs them more. So, what does it cost them? Probably about $40-50 to get a barrel of oil by fracking. But over in these countries like Saudi Arabia, their oil only costs $5 or $10 for them to get it out of the ground. And Russia's some of the cheapest oil around is Russia. I think it's under $5. Their cost per barrel. It gives them more profit margin when they sell it. So you got all these fracking wells down there in around West Texas, places like the Permian Oil Basin, with their high cost per barrel. But there's another thing too, is they're short-lived wells. They don't last long. And then it requires more infrastructure to go in and redo the well so that it'll pump for a couple years again. If this oil gets cut off in the Persian Gulf, it's going to have a disastrous effect on our economy. It'll be a total disaster. And so, I mean, and now they've attacked the Houthis, and things are setting up for this war to become a regional conflict. And so, what are the Houthis like? They're kind of like they're on Mad Max, you know. I mean, they're ready to go for it. They're ready to jump into the fray and die for their cause. Are Americans ready to die for their cause? This is the thing, you know. And so you're working with, it kind of like reminds me of this movie with Lord Humongous. Well, this wasn't Lord Humongous. Lord Humongous was in the first one of this series. Who was this guy? I can't remember his name. The Immortum, I think his name was. You guys keep up with the Mad Max movies. I'm not sure if you keep up with them or not. Meanwhile, in other news, in Ukraine, Zelensky has ruled out a ceasefire with Russia. He says Moscow would use it to rearm or re-equip. So a ceasefire's been ruled out. What does that mean? It means this war in Ukraine's more than likely going to continue on longer. They've been warned this morning. Russia's warned them. They've come on and they've said, hey, you know what? If Ukraine were to start striking our missile facilities, targeting our missile facilities within Russia, it would be nuclear is what they're talking about. Well, this is just one front in this ongoing war. Now, the United States now is putting sanctions in on North Korea because North Korea is giving Russia ballistic missiles. It's more than likely what North Korea is doing is they need a test. Do you remember they were launching these tests from North Korea? They'd take the missile and launch it from North Korea to find out its effectiveness. Well, it's no big deal for them to send Russia a few of these missiles and let them use them on real targets to test their effectiveness. They use it as a proving ground. Putin can use North Korean missiles and he can relay all the data back to North Korea on the effectiveness of the missile. I hate these ads. Now, meanwhile, back in Germany, their transport has been hobbled. Honest to God, they keep popping up these stupid pop-ups. It says German transport hobbled by train strikes and farmer blockades. Following work stoppages in November and December, the current strike marks the longest protracted dispute over pay and working hours in Germany. Nationwide strikes have brought German transport to a near standstill Wednesday, with railway workers on 3-day stoppages and farmers on tractors blocking out the Autobahn. You guys don't know what the Autobahn is. It is Germany's roadways where they move transportation, basically. It's a bitter protest, it says, over subsidy cuts. Ill-tempered sector disputes mark the start of what is expected to be a challenging year for Chancellor Olaf Scholz, his unwielding three-way government, as it struggles with weak economy and stinking popularity. Train drivers' union called to strike on cargo as well as passenger routes after talks with public rail operators. Deutsche Bahn hit an impasse, the company said. Deutsche Bahn warned of massive disruptions of service until Friday evening, urging travelers to avoid any unnecessary journeys during the strike. Oh, here, back to that other story. I forgot I had this on here. When I said that it was Russia's Medvedev said any UK deployment to Ukraine would also be a declaration of war. That's back to the first story I was carrying about Russia. Remember when I said that they talked about how if any strikes on their missile facilities would basically lead to something much larger? So we got a lot going on in the world. We got this thing where probably the biggest story is all in the shipping. The Red Sea and the Persian Gulf. It is throwing the United States off balance. And it is so important that oil continues to flow through the Gulf of Oman and the Persian Gulf. And it's so important that shipping is maintained through the Red Sea. So important to world trade and to the economy. I can't begin to stress enough. And you can't be two places at once. The United States brings all of their ships down in there in the Red Sea and tries to stop what the Houthis are doing with the freight shipping. And then they get caught off guard because up in the Persian Gulf, things start to get cut off. So then if they rush their ships up there, then it might break out again in the Red Sea area. So you can see how this is getting the United States, is going to get the United States off balance. But this is what they want to do. They want to... This is why China... I'm telling you, that this is a long-term plan. For years, China and Russia were shipping gold east, out of the vaults in the West. And we were doing something called rehypothecation, where basically they'd put the gold out on lease. It's called out on lease. And basically what it amounts to is they had huge vaults full of gold over here in the West. And the politicians who were in charge over that gold, would say, okay, we're going to drop a lease agreement. We're going to lease the gold out, and we're going to use the money we obtained from that lease agreement on the gold now for whatever projects we want it for or whatever. And later, when the lease term expires, we'll buy the gold back off of the open market for the going price, and it all looks good on paper because they plan on buying it back for a price cheaper than they leased it out for. And they can also say, okay, well, when we lease it out, then we don't have vault fees or anything else, and we'll have that money to use right now. So the rehypothecation of gold continues on, and they continue to ship it from west to east to the buyers who are buying the gold up and putting it in their vaults. When they want to get it back again, and say the lease expires and they want to get the gold back again, what do you think they're going to have to pay to get it back? Do you think they're really going to get it cheaper than they did when they sold it? And they were doing this kind of stuff back when gold was like $1,100, $1,200 an ounce. That's when they were selling it, and it was being shipped east. You think the people in the East are going to say, okay, I know we bought your gold back when it was $1,100. Yeah, we'll sell it back to you for a less price now. We'll sell it back to you for $800. You think that's going to happen? Scams, and more scams. Our whole financial system's run on nothing but scams. Getting in here and taking a look today at what on earth, I just had it. I had to hit the button and refresh the screen in order to get it back. It's just constantly popping up ads. It's just greed is running amok. I'll tell you guys right now, greed is running amok in this system. If you got an email box, you're being constantly flooded with scammers. And they're always inventing new scams. just a sidetrack for an issue right now is they're using AI. The scammers are using AI now. You guys got to be careful of this. I just found this out. What they're doing is they can get any voice recording of you. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you've got a TikTok or something. Or one of these, social media, and you got some little video you posted. Maybe something cute your dog did or something, and you're talking in the video. They can get AI to listen to the sound of your voice and replicate it perfectly. Instantaneously. The AI will replicate your voice specifically. Then they can go out and they can call up your relatives or whatever and use that AI to make it seem like it's you. This is scammers. They're always thinking of new schemes. It's all got associated with greed. The system that nobody gives a damn about anybody else right now, the way it is. And this is one of the reasons why, see, going back to the Great Depression, we suffered through the Great Depression and we made it out to the other side. Because we had a sense of civic duty and pride. And we were also morally ethical citizens. And we were also, we had patriotism. What's it like now? It's degenerated into the system has actually done it. It's slowly but surely over the past, say, 50 years. It's trained the youth while they're growing up so that now they're just greedy and all out for number one. And it's part of the reason why this system is going down. It's going down day by day, week by week. It's a very slow process. It's slow until it's not slow. War is speeding it up immensely. I know I'm starting to sound kind of preachy here, but you guys can see it. I know you guys can see it. I say you guys can see it. You guys, my audience, you can see it. But a lot of these people out there, they're totally blind to this because it's been such a slow process. They can't see what's actually happening and how the world is just basically. This is going to affect the average citizen. So at a certain point, the average citizen, they're starting to get a little bit tutti-frutti, nutty. They're going a little bit nutty. People are. In this kind of environment. And they did tests on rats and things like in cages. When the rats became overpopulated and stuff, they went tutti-frutti, it went nutty. They started to attack one another even though they had lots of food. It's just, well, we got silver up today a little bit. $23.30 today. You remember it was in the 20, but I'm still, now I'm so skeptical on about silver when it's moving up and down in this channel that it's been in between, say, 21.50 and 24.50. That I'm going to wait until I see it firmly break this channel to the upside before I say, hey guys, we got something going on here. So if I see a 75-cent move to the upside or whatever, what is it today? 57 cents to the upside. I'm not going to get excited. I'm not letting myself get excited. But on the other side of that coin, I know that you guys got to stay firm. Don't let this affect you mentally. Because there is a day coming when there's going to be retribution for this market. This market is going to surprise everybody with its moves to the upside. And you want to be in on that. So hang in there, guys. Cryptocurrency today, $44.49, and Ethereum is at $26.59. XRP is at 58.73 cents today. That's kind of low for XRP. But we're seeing the price, on cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin and the cryptocurrencies right now, they're in I'm not really going to declare and say, hey, they're in a bull market. They're doing good right now, but I'm not going to say they're in a bull market right now. Now, I want to say something else. The Federal Reserve, if they do not lower interest rates on time for these markets, we're going to have a market crash. The markets have priced everything in now at this point. They've priced in perfection. And that includes Fed rate cuts. What could stop the Fed from cutting rates is exactly what we've seen this morning with the Houthi attacking in the Red Sea and the price of shipping going up. If oil starts to get cut off, because oil's in almost everything, all products and everything need oil. If it doesn't matter if you're buying a can of beans, there's oil there, because it costs oil for them to get it to the store, and it costs oil for the label they put on the can, and it costs oil to make the can. It costs oil for the heat to cook the beans, to get them in the can. Everything's got oil in it. Oil price goes up, so's going to inflation. Inflation goes up, the Fed's going to be perhaps thinking twice about lowering interest rates. If they don't lower interest rates, we're going to have a market crash. What could stop them from lowering rates is rising inflation, rapidly rising inflation. What could create rapid rising inflation? Well, the situation in the Persian Gulf and in the Red Sea. It's all tied in together. Now, on the other side of that coin, if the Fed starts to lower rates and they go back to quantitative easing, we will see the inflation take off, you know. But the thing is that's what we need to have happen for the economy not to crash. If we don't want to see a crash. Taking a look at the Dow Jones today, it's up down 189 points at 37,521. And taking a look at crude oil, it's up $1.46 up. It's at 73.48. Now, bonds and rates today. We're looking at the U.S. 10-year at 3.94. So 10 years fell a little bit. It fell 3 basis points. And the U.S. 30-year is at 4.1, and it's up almost 1 basis point, 0.8 of 1 basis point to the upside. And taking a look at the dollar index is at 102.29. So I guess what I'm trying to say, guys, is, are we going to have the markets go up, or are we going to have them go down? And go down in a big way. It depends on what the Fed does with these interest rates. And that what the Fed does with the interest rates hinges on inflation somewhat. We've seen a little bit of a rebound in inflation. I think it's up to 3.5. So, anyway, we're going to have to wait and see. But the market right now, they're not going to accept anything except easier monetary policy moving forward. Otherwise, the markets are going to have a temper tantrum. You know? And we're going to have to wait and see on this. But, I mean, the movement in the market, even right now, might have, or possibly has something to do with this. The fact that it's moving downward right now, down 159 points today. Might be them saying, hey, you know what? If inflation makes a comeback, we might not get our cuts. They're not going to take it good. I can tell you that right now. Not when they've priced it all in. You know, I'm going to tell you something about people, and this is human nature. A person won't be upset with you if you promise them nothing. But say you got a used car, an old car, and you say, okay, I'm going to go out and buy a new car, you know? And you can have my old car. Oh, the guy's, hey, yeah, that's great. Hey, thank you very much. He hasn't given it to him yet. A week goes by. He says, well, I lost my job. I'm not going to be buying that new car. I'm going to have to keep my old car. That's when your friend gets mad at you because you promised it to him. He thought he had it coming. It's the same way with these investors in the market. They think they've got cuts coming. And they've already bought in. How do you think they're going to feel if the Fed says, oh, by the way, you ain't going to get what we promised you. In fact, we're going to raise rates because inflation just took off. What do you think the market's going to do? Okay, we'll see you guys in the next show. You guys have a great afternoon. And remember, like and subscribe. Push that thumbs up button for me. And we'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.